Hey friends, it's been a minute. We've been working on project one. We're getting back to doing our exercises, and this is for the 2013 version of the text, and we're on chapter 6, which is color and painting. So there's a lot to get handled of, and you hope you guys went through that PDF, which was kind of a step-by-step, some more information on color within for designers, different color schemes and whatnot, which you should be aware of when you start creating your own work. You kind of dealt with a little bit of color with project one, and this is where we kind of get more in depth, more comfortable with color. So I have L6 end open, and that's what we're going to do. And we're essentially just recoloring this artwork to be like this. And there's a lot of different steps. You think it's easy because we're just recoloring work, but it's not. So we're going to start, we're saving this file as park sign. And putting my name on it, underscore park sign dot AI. All right, now the book starts talking about CMYK and RGB. We're going to kind of skip this because it's within the PDF and that's done way better. I wrote it, so it has a lot of more in-depth information about how those colors are both used. But if you always need to change things, you can go to File, Document Color Mode, and if you ever need to switch between RGB and CMYK, it's always there if you need to know. So we're just doing some main color controls. So we are in our end here. So we're going to go to end, and we're just going to look at some stuff. Remember, in your tools panel, we have a fill and a stroke. And if we select an object, it's going to change the fill to what we are selected on. And it'll also change the stroke too, depending on whatever object we are selecting. So it does that to like match it. Now on page 178, in the middle, so A is actually right here. That's our default fill and stroke. So if you ever need to go to basics, you can always go to D on your keyboard. Defaults it out to white as the fill and black as the stroke. Same thing for Adobe Photoshop too, if you need to go to those black and white. And if you do X, it kind of switches them back and forth to kind of swap them. Or you can press D right there. Not press D, but it's D on the box. So this is our fill, our color button. This if we need to do a gradient or none. So if I press none or gradient, I can kind of hop around and those buttons change what's within my foreground. So those are some cool things to play around with. And that's just one place for color. Now if we go to our color panel, which is actually aptly located right there, we kind of have it in a CMYK kind of slide over here where we can kind of use the eyedropper to pick things up. And I'm actually going to just click and drag this wider. So we have our color guide right here. So we have our color guide here, which kind of works with shades and kind of just jumping around. And it's inspiration, so if you have certain colors that you're working on, you can kind of pull them off of this. It does it with shades, tints, and tones, which the PDF talks about as well. And if we pull up swatches, And swatches, this is where we can pick colors from an eyedropper and name them here. You can apply and edit them later. It helps organize if I know, it already has some set colors that are popular, but let's say I know that I'm using colors quite often. I would create a swatch out of them. I can create a swatch folder, I can pull them in and out. This is great if you are doing illustrations or if you have set colors for your client and you'd have specific artwork colors. Like Coca-Cola Red is always the same hue. It's really helpful for that. So yeah, these would be your swatches. These are your groups, little folders for them. There's a library of colors that Adobe's already placed together. There's Open Cooler panel, which is, you can create your own color themes through Adobe, but I have not. Swatch kinds, gradient, so if you need to narrow that down. This would be swatch options, so let me just pick, and I can kind of adjust it there too. Let's say I need this cyan to be a little less, and then I can kind of rename it later. I can create a new swatch, which we may kind of be familiar with, and I can do it with these sliders. Remember, you are, so if we take everything to 100, you're creating black, so you need to lessen the colors to create white. If they're over here, they create white. So 0% is white, and it kind of works as a scale you have to work with adding the colors together. And then you can kind of rename. You can add to libraries, but it can add the color there if you'd like, and you can kind of click and drag it around, which is pretty cool. So we're just going to take a break on the end, and we're going to jump over to page 180, which is our park sign. So there's a lot of different stuff here. So we're going to click this big red shape, and we're on page 180, step 4, and we're going to pull down up here in our control panel, and since there's already stuff created within our swatch panel, we can always work with that. And we're going to click the Apply Swatch Sign BG. And it'll kind of hover over. It's going to be kind of like a greenish right there. And once we click that, it goes over there. If we click Escape, we'll hide that panel. And we've changed our color right there. And you can deselect or select outside the frame to make sure nothing else selected. You want to make sure only the thing you want to adjust is selected when you're working with these colors. So with our selection tool, we're going to select the white bar above the green bar in the middle of the artboard. So that's actually, this is kind of the greenish one. I'm going to zoom in a little. And we select here, and we're going to pull in our color panel. And ours is on, mine is on this, there we go. I went to just show options so I can get these scales. If you hide them, you have the full gradient, and you can zoom it on out to get the full pattern. But I went to show options so I could see my slider scales. You need to make sure you're in CMYK, which is right here. And we're going to click the fill box if it's not selected. So in our control panel, fill, yes. And we're going to try to, we're going to kind of get a light green part of the color spectrum to find a green color fill. So while this is selected, we need to find a light green. That's kind of neon. All right. That's pretty good. So it's automatically applying when we do it. So we're going to type in, it wants us to type in a specific CMYK code. This is step 4, page 181. And these are in percentages. So we need 42 cyan, 0 magenta, Y 62, 0 black. So there's an actual specific light green. We tried to find it from the eyedropper. It didn't quite work, so we put in input values so they're all the same. So now we're going to click on the Swatches icon. And remember, if your screen does not look like this, you may need to reset Essential. So we're going to click the Swatches icon. And we're going to click the new swatch, which is like the new page, kind of familiar. It's that same color we just created, cyan 42, yellow 62. And we're just going to name it light green because we may pull this up. And it wants us to have practice to creating swatches, adjusting the color, and then also saving swatches so we can use them later. So everything looks good, it matches the book, and we're just going to click OK. So now we can always pull up this color later. The great thing about Illustrator is you need exact colors. So this is a way to have those colors to pull them up whenever you need them. So we're going to click the third white tree from the left on the top of the figures. So basically we're collecting the middle tree. They couldn't just say the middle tree, could they? So we're going to take that color and make that middle one light green, that color we just created. I'm going to make that stroke to none. So I clicked on the stroke here in the tools panel, and I'm just going to click the none. So we have no stroke. I'm going to make sure we deselect. So then we're going to create a copy of a swatch. So in our swatches panel, we're going to click on the new swatch button. So we're going to pull that panel up. And this is great that they're kind of pulled here, this panel bar, because then I can click from one to the next very quickly instead of going to go to window, pull down. And if you can always drag things out and pull them back in so they all nest together. So we're going to create a new swatch. So I was kind of doing this backwards because we have to have something selected to create a swatch. We don't have, so we're on none, so we need to focus back on, jump back into that fill. So we're going to pull up this new swatch and pull up here. Sometimes things don't work and you kind of have to work backwards to figure out why buttons are appearing or not. So we're going to name this swatch orange. It needs to be C15, M45, Y70, K0. It's kind of a pale orange. And we can, our color mode menu, so we could always change it to other color modes. So if we're needing to switch it to RGB or these other modes, we can always pull that in, but we need to keep it as CYK. And click OK. And with our selection tool, click on the white bar above the light green, right here. And then we're going to make it this light orange, right there. So I was just creating a swatch. We didn't really create a copy of it, like it said, but we're just creating swatches. We're going to click the large brown shape. It's more of a greenish. It says brown, but it's not really brown. So we're going to click on this first shape that was originally red, but then we made it into this kind of brownish, greenish shape, I guess. And we're going to adjust the color. So we're going to make sure the fill box is selected at the Tools panel, and it's there, so it's right there. And with the shape selected, double-click the swatch named Sign BG. So we're going to find it right there. It's actually already right there, or if I even pull up here, we're going to double-click it, and it pulls up that swatch options document, and we're just going to take that K value to 0. So it's going to lighten it up. Click OK. And when we edit a swatch we created, if you want to edit this, apply the edit to other objects, you want them to be selected too. It's not like a live update, but it updates when we do. And we double deselect, see, it's made it a nice lighter color, a little bit easier. The last thing we're going to do for this video is creating and editing a global swatch. So we're going to make something, create a color, make it into a global color. When you edit a global color, all the artwork is applied. We kind of played with this, especially when you're in the in-class portion, when we were re-editing the work from the image trace. And we really put that in our in-class portion. There was in the video. So this may be kind of familiar. So we're going to select the white bar above the orange bar. So this one right here. And we're going to go into the Swatches panel with the click the new swatch. We're going to name this Forest Green. And we're going to select global, and that's going to change this global color. So C91, M49, Y49, K0. So, oh, that's a nice cool blue. Maybe my color needs to be corrected because it says forest green even though this became a blue. Maybe I need to get my colors fixed. So in our swatches pane, notice our new swatch, the top row of colors right to the white swatch. So it's going to place it right there once we click OK. And we selected the shape. It's filled with all white. Right there. So we're going to click and drag the forest green right to the orange. And we just kind of moved it there. Kind of keep it together. There's a little white triangle right there that indicates it's a global swatch, so you know which swatches are local and global. With the selection tool, click on the second white tree from left and apply the new forest green swatch. Make sure the fill is chosen near the bottom thing. So if we click this tree, we'll press that there. And we're going to change that stroke weight up to 0, and that's using our control panel. And we're going to deselect. Now we're going to see this kind of in action. So we're going to go in our swatches and we're going to double click and we're going to take that K value to 24. Now I'm just going to move there. So once I press OK, watch what happens. Now both of those colors became darker because they are linked together because they're global color for a global swatch. So the next section we're going to do some color picker in the next bit. I hope this first part of the video kind of helped you out with learning a little bit about swatches. Thank you.